Hi everyone, welcome to today's video on what RACER is. This is a writing strategy that we'll use sometimes to answer questions, especially if they come along with text, just to make sure we've covered all our bases. But let's get right into it. So RACER is actually an acronym, meaning each of these letters, the R, the A, the C, etc., those all stand for something. So R stands for restating the question. A means to answer every part of the question. C is to cite evidence, meaning you're pulling in evidence. E is to explain how that evidence proves that you're right. Oh. And then R is to reread your response, making sure that you fix up any mistakes. So let's dive into each letter, okay? So when we're talking about restating the question, for example, if I'm taking the question, what is the best kind of food? There's sort of a formula to how to make this a restatement, okay? So if I restated that, it would look like the best kind of food is blah, 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 blah. Now, notice here, I took off the question words. The what is here, that what is a question word and the is helping it. So I'm going to take those off and then add that is to the end. So that moves all the way down here to sort of restate that question, okay? Now, you might also notice, that I added that is onto the end. So I want you to take this question. I want you to make it a restatement. So if I ask you, who is the best teacher in Navigator Pod? How do you restate that? Okay, hopefully you took that who, you got rid of it because that's a question word, and you took that is and you moved it down to the end. So the best teacher in Navigator Pod is, and this way people always know what you're talking about, right? You're not just saying, Miss Johnson. Okay, Miss Johnson, what? Or spaghetti. What about spaghetti? Tell me what you're actually answering, okay? So let me clear my screen. All right, moving on. When we answer the question, that is our A. So if I'm asking you, what is the best kind of food and why? You're going to answer with your answer. So restate. The best kind of food is pasta. There's my answer. And I need to also address that second part of the question, that why, okay? Because it is filling, delicious, and versatile. It can do a lot of things. So here, you're making sure to answer all parts of the question and making sure you restate, because that is also part of answering it, right? You can't really answer it without restating. So if I ask you, who is the best teacher in Navigator Pod and why? What is going to be the most complete answer? Okay, so my example is that the best teacher in Navigator Pod is Miss Johnson. There's my answer, but I need to make sure that I get that second part, that why. So I say, because of her sense of style, her relationships with her students, and her amazing teaching style. When we talk about the C in RACER, we're talking about citing evidence. So I want you to think about my expectations for citing evidence. If you are referring to an article or to an outside source, if you're not coming up with your evidence in your own head, you need to cite someone, right? You need to give them credit. But, nice, we give credit for anything that's not our idea. But evidence helps prove your answer is right. So a lot of things can be evidence, even if we're coming up with them. So for example, in that little piece that I gave you just a minute ago for the answer, I have evidence in here. My evidence is my sense of style, my relationships with my students, and my amazing teaching style. All of these things help prove that I am the best teacher, right? So when a question gives you text with it, you can always use that to help find evidence. Sometimes it'll be like, here's some information on school lunches and good stuff and bad stuff. Now answer, should schools provide lunch or something like that? You can always use that to find evidence, but you're also okay with just coming up with your own evidence unless the question asks you to cite evidence from the text. Okay. When we are talking about E, explaining evidence, it's not enough to just have it, right? What if you say, well, Miss Johnson's the best teacher because she wears cute clothes? And someone's like, okay, so how does that relate to anything? we have to explain why our evidence proves our answer is right. So with the example of like my sense of style, we might need to talk about why that actually matters. So you'd say first, Miss Johnson's sense of style is unparalleled. It's her fun and comfortable outfits inspire a sense of ease in her students, making for a more comfortable learning environment. You need to make that jump for your reader because not everyone thinks the same. Something that may seem obvious as evidence for you might not seem obvious as evidence for someone else. And I want you to pretend that your reader is dumb. Okay? I want you to pretend that there is no way they're going to understand how your evidence connects to the claim. Oh, I just chipped my tooth. Oh, that hurt. Ow. Hold on. I'm going to be right back. Sorry about that. Okay. So make sure that, like, if you're saying school lunches are bad and or school lunches, we shouldn't have them because they are gross. What if someone's like, okay, but like, why wouldn't we still have them? Pretend they're dumb. Tell them why gross lunches are not a good idea because people won't want to eat them and then they'll just go to waste. You need to explain your evidence, and you're explaining how it proves your claim, your answer, is right. Okay. Now, for the last part, why would I ask you to reread your answers? Well, it's super easy to make mistakes, right? Like in writing, sometimes your brain goes faster than your pen or your typing, and you skip a word, you'll write a run-on sentence, you'll forget your capitalization, you're forgetting where you're at in your argument, you might forget to explain your evidence or forget a whole part of RACER. So if we reread, it helps us make sure that we are hitting every point, that we have answered all parts of the question, that we cited evidence. Now, I want you, when you're rereading, it can be helpful if you are mouthing the words, okay? So if I'm going, the words you reread, you'll hear and you'll catch if something sounds weird or if you wrote something down wrong. Like, if I say, you'll catch if something sounds weird. I need to add an S. I forgot an S. That's a typo. You can fix that then. And then that is going to help with your grade because it's super easy for a teacher to see that you clearly didn't reread your work. In fact, it's one of the easiest things. When I was reading through your writing samples earlier this year, I noticed that a lot of you would benefit from rereading your work so that you can then fix it. And as you fix things, you're going to become a better writer. You're going to become aware of the things you frequently do wrong in your writing, and you'll get better, right? It's just how learning goes. So that is all. You can go ahead and move on to how to write a RACER response, where I'm going to walk you through a prompt, and then we'll write our RACER response together. All right. Thank you. Have a great day.